Bibi Jane, what's up? Kidding ko ba?
Hello. All
We
good.
finally made it happen after a few reschedules. My bad.
I know. No, we made it happen. That's what counts.
Mas like it'll be cool, wag. Based on your... Me talaga ako introduce mo yung pero based on your content, kung ayera ma binge watch un tray otro, I was at my girlfriend's house and to makumpara play turbo reels lang, waxi me missed haya some interesting things that I can bring up in the conversation. Afterwards, ma post some picture dibo bisando that you're going to be a guest on the show, anto what questions people might have, and hopi abay just hindi di arupa ta interested pa sa kosan dibo content creation, I dibo career anto bohon studies in general. So if you want, let's start though with just give us a taste of who you are and what your story is. Pero después mo dive in di biyahe riba kiko henda na punta riba Instagram. But let's start with your story, Bibi Jane.
Got it. Do you want a story or do you want introduction first?
Good question. Let's do introduction first and then let's dive into story.
Okay, cool. So my name is Bibi Jane Angelica de la Rosario, and I'm a content creator and upcycler. I create content around anything you might struggle with or deal with in your 20s, and I upcycle secondhand clothing. So I take secondhand clothing and turn it into something new.
Is that what upcycling means?
Yeah, taking something of less worth and creating more worth out of it. So something like a broken jeans, you turn it into a bag, for example. Yeah.
Okay, so what I know is you went to the same high school as me, right? You went to colegio, but you have like a pretty noticeable Dutch accent. So what's up with that?
I was born in the Netherlands, actually. I'm a Dutchie. And my mom is also from the Netherlands, so I grew up speaking Dutch, but I already moved to Aruba when I was 4. So, yeah, that's how I learned, like, the language and everything. But I'm a Dutchie at heart.
And then in Aruba, you went to middle school, high school, and then once you finished, you went back to the Netherlands right away?
Yeah, I was 17, then I moved back to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam specifically.
What was your career path at first? Like, what did you start studying?
So when it came to my career, I just kind of had to look at, okay, what am I good at in school or what do I like in school? Kind of like the whole science thing. And I can clearly remember going to like the decan, which is like someone that helps you with like your further career. And he gave me this big ass book of all the like things you could study. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just kind of flipped through pages and kind of just landed on forensic science. So I thought, cool, science sounds nice. And I was 17. My mom tried to convince me, like, Bibi, you're so young, you don't need to go now. And I was like, oh, I need to go now. Okay, because then I'll be 21 when I finish my bachelor's. Sounds great. Let's do it. So then I moved to Amsterdam with the goal to get my bachelor's at 21. And I did.
So one question I got from someone on Instagram, it's anonymous, so I don't know who it is, but it says you studied forensics and then you had a conversation with your parents about changing. So did you change studies or did you like finish that study?
Oh, like already around like year 2, maybe even year 1, I was already kind of doubting. But I was like, I don't know what exactly else I want to do. And I kind of had that like goal of like, I want to finish at 21, which now I look back at and I totally think different about it. But it was so engraved in my mind, like, no, this is going to happen. So I kind of chose the safe route and I was like, I'll just finish this forensic thing. But I was pretty unhappy with the whole situation.
So now looking back, what would you have done knowing what you know now?
I would have told my 17-year-old self to calm the F down. Like, there is no rush. And to just experiment it a little more. Like, if I really liked forensic science, but why didn't I like talk to someone that actually works in the field or someone that actually is studying it instead of just basing my assumptions off like a book or a website, you know? So yeah, I would definitely experiment more and just, there's no need to get a bachelor's at 21. It does not change your life. So I would take my time.
That's exactly, so I was thinking of a follow-up question, but you stole it from me. Like right off the tip of my tongue. Looking back, I'm still going to try to ask it in a different way. You said that you were like so fixated on getting your bachelor's at 21. right? Now I know that you're an entrepreneur slash content creator. You do your own thing. Some people argue that it's not so relevant as it used to be back then, to make a living that you have to have a bachelor's. But looking back now, do you think it's still okay to graduate with a bachelor's at 26, 28, 30, let's say, whichever the age may be? What's your opinion on that?
I think that there are certain jobs where you just need a bachelor's. Like, it would be kind of weird if we were living in a world where doctors had like zero, degrees and stuff.
Yeah.
But could you repeat the question one more time?
So, yeah, back then you were fixated on getting your bachelor's at 21. How old are you right now? 24, 25?
25.
25, okay. So, knowing what you know now, let's say now you know that you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to upcycle and, create fashionable clothes for a living. Would you have a problem with studying something new that is more relevant to what you're doing now? But that means obviously graduating at a later age, so 25 or above, maybe 28, maybe 30. Like, what's your opinion on that?
Oh, yeah, I think there's definitely nothing wrong with age. So my mind's definitely changed when it comes to that. But I don't regret how things went, because at the end of the day, I stuck to this forensic science thing for 4 years. But what I learned outside of that is way bigger. Being 17, living on my own, having to cook for myself, and just that taught me so much. So I'm so grateful for that college experience that I got, basically the school of life. I think I learned a lot from that. So
one question I have about your entrepreneurship self is, what keeps you on track when you're your own boss? Because you don't have anyone breathing down your neck, giving you deadlines, rushing you to deliver. So how do you still stay on track if you're your own boss? I think it's a good question. Because they got you thinking.
Yeah, it's definitely a good question. I think it comes from within. I've never specifically struggled with motivation, because I get so pumped to know that I'm gonna keep growing. So for example, with video, I'm only gonna get better at making videos if I actually wake up and make a new video. For example, I don't see the worth in okay, cool, I want to get better at video, for example. I wouldn't spend all my time and love and passion into making one good video, because it's going to be a shitty video either way. The first time you do something, it's going to be shitty. So just knowing that each time I'm going to do something, I'm going to get better at it, that is the biggest motivation for me. And that keeps me going. But I do have bad days too, where I'm I don't want to get out of bed. But that has consequences too, because if on a Monday I don't want to get out of bed, then probably in the weekend I'm going to be working. That's just how it is. So it's holding myself accountable, but yeah, I'm not perfect either.
What about at the beginning when you just started? Was it difficult to, right now the good thing is your business is supplemented by the own content and marketing that you do on your own social media page, right? So it complements each other. Did you have those clients or loyal following that bought from you right at the beginning, or did it start off really slow and you had to build up?
I got a lot of support from friends and stuff, which I'm super grateful for, but yeah, building new customers wasn't easy. I had zero experience when it comes to running a business or having a web shop. These were all new things to me, so it definitely did not take off at the beginning. But when I look back at my brand, I do think that it, to me, the first drop, for example, was sold out, and I was wow, this is gonna be so successful, because the first drop sold out. But just because the first drop sold out does not mean your brand is gonna be successful. There is a lot of other things you gotta fix, and there's a long pathway to go. So, yeah.
What are some of the things that you learned from running your own business?
Oh, a product is not going to market itself. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It's not going to market itself. Doesn't matter how pretty your website is. No one's going to visit your website if you don't give them a reason to visit your website. Because first I was like, wow, I'll make this amazing bag and like everyone will want it. No, everyone's not going to want it. You're going to have to give them a reason to want it. So that's I think kind of like the main thing I would say.
Like, how did you approach that? Like, giving people a reason is one, or like even making them aware of the website that you have, the bag that you have, and then making them, at least incentivizing them to want to visit or buy it? Like, how'd you do that at first? Because like, if it's your first time, obviously you have no experience, it's going to be your first time doing it. So how did you first approach that?
Well, since the brand was always focused a bit on sustainability, that was kind of like a core value. It was always kind of a dilemma. Like, when it comes to sustainability, you don't want to be like, hey, buy this, because that's also not sustainable. So I had to learn to kind of have a balance with that. But I think storytelling was just like the thing that worked for me and that what I enjoyed, because every product had a story, what was it made of? Oh, it was made by a jeans. Oh, where was the jeans from? Oh, from this person that maybe had their first date in that jeans and then it ripped, and I think that like spoke to people because it had a story,
When you tell these stories through your content, do you still always include a call to action, or is sometimes the story enough for them to just visit and go make a purchase?
Story is definitely enough. It's hard because I mean, if you're like making an ad, I would say an ad definitely needs a call to action. But if it's like an organic post, and I would personally not have a call to action, but that's just what I've seen kind of like work for me. So yeah, depends.
I think it was it was definitely the last podcast interview that I did. I posted it last week, Monday, or like 2 weeks ago, Monday. It's this girl that lives in Cyprus, Stephanie, and right now she makes a living off of content creation. But we spoke about how followers right now just sense or feel right away when they're being sold to, and then they just keep scrolling. And then for her as a content creator, it's difficult to find a middle ground where you're not annoying or being too pushy on your followers, but at the same time, the company feels like you're promoting the product enough, right? So for you, you said that you found that balance for your own products with storytelling, right?
Yeah, that's right. But I do definitely agree, and it's definitely a struggle. I think like now we're like in a day and age of like short form content, but I think back of like classic YouTube where they would just like pause the video and you'd be like, hi guys, now we're going to talk about an ad. It was very straight into your face, and short form content is more like, we're just going to slip this in and we're going to make it look authentic and organic, and which is nice because people enjoy it more. I enjoy it more. I love feeling like I'm not watching an ad, I'm watching a TikTok. I like how TikTok promotes ads. They always say, make TikToks, not ads. And I like that. I think consumers like that. But as a content creator, I do like transparency. I don't like when people hide that it's an ad, personally. I like it to be loud and clear, which they're all like lost for as well here. But yeah, it's tricky. It's finding a balance.
So if you put yourself in the shoes of a consumer, which sort of ad are you more okay with? Which one's like more enjoyable or less annoying?
I like a good balance. So I like to see maybe a good user generated content, but also give me a little bit of that high quality photo shoot. So I know you're like not scammy or whatever. I don't know. I like a good balance. I think that shows two sides of you, and it makes it like trustworthy for me as a consumer, at least. How about you?
It depends. Because look, I'm going to name a few creators just because if you know them, then I can use an example. Do you know who Colin and Samir are on YouTube?
Oh, I love them. Like, I'm obsessed.
Okay, exactly. So they're two creators that I really like. I feel like they built this connection and like trust, a good level of credibility with their following. So based on that feeling, whenever they place an ad in their video, it's straight up. Like, they just say, here's a word from our sponsor from this video. But since you know that they're there for the creators, for the creator economy. You just know that they wouldn't sell out to a shitty product just to, you know, gain some money. So you know that they're being honest about it. Like, this is an ad, but let us genuinely explain to you how we were a customer of this company and now we love them so much that we want them to be a sponsor, so we want to promote them, etc. So you actually do listen. You know that you're being sold to in a way, but it's more like a friend giving you advice on, hey, I used this for 6 months. It works for me. So I think you should hear this, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I think when it comes to creator, I totally agree with you. What I said about the mix is more what I mean for like a brand. Like if a brand was doing ads, I'd like to see a mix. But from creators, yeah, like, of course. I just love when I see a creator that I follow a lot and they do an ad and you're like, this is such a good match. And that I'm like, ugh, I love it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the difference is if the ad is being done like directly through the company, you know that their goal is to sell, right? So you know that the ad might just make it sound pretty, make it sound nice, like take the bullshit away as long as they sell. But if it's a creator that you follow, right, like they've given you so much advice, you learn so much from their videos, in one way or another, you've gained so much value from them. One, you're more likely to listen, and two, since you established that trust, like I'd listen to them before I listen to the company directly, you know, because the company wouldn't have any reason to like showcase their flaws or what might be good or bad. But a creator is just, you know, in a way, it just feels like there's more transparency. So that's why like I think that it's very important for companies to definitely work with influencers, micro-influencers, rather than just posting ads, you know, through their own channels.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. It's like for example, even like my friend, like if I am looking for like a new product, I'll always text my friend first. I'll be like, hey, do you recommend this? Like, what do you recommend? Like, and that's how some influencers feel the people, you know, like a friend that you could just be like, oh, cool, this product is like approved, great, amazing.
Bibi, how often do you post per week? Let's say on like, do you post more on Instagram than TikTok? Zie je toch?
Right now, yeah, I am posting more on Instagram. I would love to say a 7 time a week. Doesn't happen. I think realistically like 4 times a week. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into some of the questions on content creation, starting with which part for you is the hardest when it comes to creating content? Like the biggest challenges for you that you faced?
This nice thing I like to call algorithm versus creativity. You might have heard from Colin and Samir. They talk about it sometimes, but I think finding a balance between being a creative person but also kind of pleasing the algorithm. So, for example, algorithm likes you to be consistent and post a lot, but my creativity isn't always there. You know, like it isn't there 7 times a week. Wish it was. So that's one struggle I've been dealing with.
Do you think, like, for you, is there a noticeable difference between the TikTok algorithm, Instagram? Because I think you mainly post on Reels, right? Or do you repost to TikTok as well?
Yeah, right now, specifically, I'm using both platforms for the same content, but I'd like to diversify them. Because I do feel like they're different platforms. I think Reels is a little bit more like loves a good little high quality, and it's also up to 90 seconds. And on TikTok, you could like talk for a good 2-3 minutes. And it just has a bit more of a funnier tone and a more laid back tone. So I do think they're 2 different platforms, but there are definitely videos that I kind of can feel like, okay, if you do good on Reels, I know you're going to do good on TikTok and vice versa. But I do still believe it's a different platform with a different audience and algorithm.
When it comes, like, to me, let's say one thing that made it easier with podcasting is either you just pre-record a bunch of episodes like in a week, right? Which is what I'm going to do next week. I'm going to do 3 episodes a day for like 5 days straight. But if that's not the case, since most episodes are just once per week, you could still just, you know, schedule it every Monday. I just have to record this. I have a few hours to edit and then post. So it's still pretty chill. if you do podcasting, but when it comes to the content you do, like a minimum of like 3 or 4 a week, I tried. I want to be doing that for sure, but that for me is difficult. What I always tried is just to like accumulate ideas or inspiration throughout the week, and then just set like either Friday or Sunday as a recording day to try and record all of them one after the other, and then just like dedicate a few days to editing. But I don't know, it's difficult. It's like you said, like inspiration doesn't come that often. Like it just comes randomly, you know, like you just read something in a comment section and then you're like, I can make a video about this, or you just ask for tips on stories. But it's not always that easy to keep up with what the algorithm wants, like you said. So I mean, lately I've been playing around a lot with ChatGPT. It does help with coming up with ideas. Have you used ChatGPT for content already?
Yeah, for sure. Like rephrasing things, synonyms, things like that. I've tried to use it for research, but I don't find it that accurate yet, like referring to like certain articles or studies, but that hasn't gone that great. But I love it. I'm kind of embracing that AI is going to be there to help us creators. I don't think it will replace us, but it will definitely help us.
I agree. It's been helping me a lot lately, by the way. So I managed to kickstart like the amount of content that I've wanted to been doing so far. And I think I dedicated more than, I don't know, at least 10 hours in the past weeks on like diving deeper into ChatGPT and AI and how to utilize it for content creation, which I can share some tips with you after, because it really, really helped. I mean, in the past, 3 days, I've made over 30 reels. I just have to edit now, which is still like a pain, but at least I got it done. Like before, just sitting down recording was way harder, but once you have like a raw idea and you use AI to like polish that into a script, into a video, it makes it so much easier. Like seriously.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It is. For me, it definitely is. Okay, next question from one of the followers is, Bibi, what tips do you have for someone that wants to start creating content?
Create.
Fresh.
Literally create. Like just press record right now, create something and post it. And I say that because I think it's so easy to get caught up on getting good first and trying to create this perfect video. But like I said before, like your first videos are going to be shitty. Okay, maybe the first 50 is going to be shitty. But you're going to get better over time if you want to get better over time. And if you just keep improving with each video, that's just it. That's how you're going to get good. And that's how I find fun in it as well. Because then it motivates me to know, like, cool, today we're going to learn something new because we're going to try and make this better. Or so, yeah. I am a big believer in, like, quality over quantity. But I think especially in the beginning, it's just, like, just create. Just find your voice. Just go for it.
I agree. Look, I'm one of those people that it's just how I was as a kid. If I wanted to start playing basketball, right, I made sure that I bought new basketball shoes for the first day of practice, right? Maybe I played 1 or 2 weeks and then I was like, yo, this is not for me. But then I have like basketball shoes that I'll never wear again. And I did that with every single sport. Like I made sure I had the equipment for day one, like start good. And then I just realized it's not for me. So I agree with what you just said.
Oh my God. So accurate.
If that happened to you too? Like in a different context, of course?
Wasn't that frustrating for you? Because I feel sometimes frustrated that I'll be like, this is the new thing. Like this is going to be my new thing. And then I get all invested in it. And then I'm like, I'm bored. Like, let's go to the next thing.
Yeah. I'm easily influenced. If I watch a great movie, and I love it so much, you best believe that it's going to be like my personality or focus for the coming weeks. You know, like that is,
oh my God.
You have no idea. Like if you ask my friends, you would know. Didn't say this on the podcast because right now, if I look back, it's kind of embarrassing, but I'll just say it. When I saw, what's this guy's name again, man? Okay, I forgot the actor's name, but they released an Elvis movie, I think it was last year. Do you know the actor's name? Do you remember?
I'm not really good with movies.
Okay, cool. But did you see the Elvis movie?
No.
Okay, so, what's the guy's name? Anyways, I'll find the name later, but this movie, for me, it was so good. Like, so good. It was amazing. So I just, all of a sudden, got this fucking appreciation for Elvis out of nowhere, right? I pull up to the gym listening to Elvis in the car. This happened for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I just dropped it, you know? But since I can get like passionate just through a movie that has like amazing storytelling and a good director, I don't know. I was just built like that since I was a kid. So at first, if I say I want to get into podcasting, which I did a few years ago, I had the idea of this has to be a good production. So I just look at like Joe Rogan, Impulsive, see what they have. And I'm like, okay, I have to have this and it has to be shot this way, which is bullshit, right? There are so many people that made it big being a creator by shooting videos with their phone, not in a studio. They don't need equipment. They just share about their day. And where I agree with you is you just have to start by recording something and posting. And then slowly you're going to discover what your niche is, what you like to talk about, and which sort of people like to listen to you, you know, and then you just keep tweaking and going down that path as long as you enjoy it. And then once you start getting better and you want to take it seriously, then you can start investing. But like sometimes a lot of times I over invest into things, and then a month later I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. And now I'm just hoarding all this shit, you know, like stuff I'm not even going to use.
I am literally the same. I'm like, no, it needs to be great. And then I'm like, no, I need this because like if I have it, it's going to motivate me. And then I'm going to take the project seriously, you know, all that. But I even have that with food, to be honest. Like I can really obsess over like something I ate and I'm like, oh, this is going to be my personality like for weeks. And then I'll get tired of it and never want to eat it again. Like, I don't know what it is.
You know what type of student I was back in colegio, for example? At the beginning of every year, I used to tell myself, okay, wait, let me put a serious face on because I can't take myself seriously right now. Okay, so at the beginning of every single year, I used to say, you know, I'm gonna do things differently this year. I'm definitely gonna do better. I want to take it more seriously. I'm gonna start like taking such detailed, elaborated notes every single class, right? So I bought new highlighters, colored pens, because I'm like, I'm gonna classify everything, blah blah blah. A notebook for every single like subject, and no lie, like I did this 4 years in a row. I only fill up to like page 4 of that notebook, and then I never write in it again. So if I go to the next room, I have a drawer filled with maybe over 50 notebooks that are all filled up to page 4, and then never again did the pencil touch the page. Every single year, new highlighters, new notebooks. It's insane.
That is just so relatable. I had that lately with journaling. I was like, I really want to be a journaling girly, and I always need to buy a new journal, you know? And then I just fill up a few pages and stop. But I've really noticed that now I bought a journal and I was like, you know what? I don't care how shitty the handwriting is. I don't care how it looks. I'm just going to write. And that worked. Like to not take it like, oh, it needs to be like this perfect thing with the perfect pen and it needs to look beautiful. Like, no, just scribble something and go. And that kind of applies to everything then, to content, to everything. Like just start.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Which is something that I learned recently. I think this year.
Oh yeah, same.
Is when I learned this. So I wish I would have learned this like before. So look, I have a friend called Lirat. He has like this shipping logistics company here in Aruba where he imports a lot of stuff from abroad. So whenever I have to buy something, say from Miami or on Amazon, I send it to his location, and either he brings it in a container or he brings it personally, and then I invested.
Are you popping in an ad?
No, it's not. It's not. Damn, it should be though.
I know. Would have been great.
Yeah, facts. Fuck, I'm gonna start doing that, or that way at least. But what I did was, I used to, when I started podcasting, I had no idea. Up until last year, I still had no idea of how to edit or do anything by myself, right? So the way it started was two friends just believed in the idea, since there wasn't like podcasts here in Aruba before, and they said, you know what, we're going to produce this for you and we just want to help you out. Like, don't pay us. If the podcast starts producing like sponsors and income, we can split it, you know, between the three of us, sure. But then I started with them. Then I moved on to work with Elite Productions, Elite Studios for over a year. And then when that stopped, and right now I started back by myself, I invested like a big investment in like studio equipment. So I got like 2 lights, I got 3 cameras, I got like everything that I might need. These fucking lightsaber looking lights that like shine blue light right now onto me. And then what I noticed is I discover this platform that we're using, Riverside. Right now I'm using my phone to record myself. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could have just started with this and then at some point move on to the camera. So it's just me again being excited, saying, you know, I just need all this to like produce a kick-ass quality podcast. And then it's this guy that brought all the equipment for me that asked me, hey, could you guide me into making like a podcast? You know, I want to start my own podcast. And I was like, yeah, man, sure, whatever you need. And then as I was walking him through all the things that he brought for me, I showed him an example of the episode that I did on this platform 2 weeks ago with the girl from Cyprus. And he was like, dude, this is fantastic. I just want this. I don't need the rest. Like, the conversation is good enough. People are going to be engaged. You can see me in 1080. Like, this is fantastic. I was like, wait, but if you compare this to like the first one I did a few weeks ago, what do you think? He's like, okay, that one's more cinematic. It's cooler, but dude, I enjoy them just as much. And then I asked a few people, I'm like, hey, do you enjoy this? Like, is this so much better because it's cinematic, or is this okay? They're like, dude, most of the time, like 90% of the whole episode, I just put my phone down. Like, I don't even look at the screen. I just listen. And I'm like, fuck. I could have saved so much fucking money. But I'm like, shit, okay. Lesson learned. I'm still definitely using everything I bought, or I'm just making myself find a way to definitely get a return on it. But I was like, definitely something I learned and something I just want to share with people is you don't need all the stuff. Like, start with the quality that you have, the phone that you have, whatever. It's more about the content, the story, the storytelling itself, and what you're sharing with people. And as you start building your follower base, you decide that you want to take it seriously. Sure, you can start investing bit by bit. But yeah, just don't be like me. The main tip I have to give is don't be like me. But I'm happy
really
that
valuable.
someone finally relates.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable that you share that, and it's also really honest. But I think it's great advice, because I think that's what stops people from starting in the first place, you know?
So do you relate with that part too?
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of a scenario. You know what it is? I think I've accumulated like so much stuff over the years, like you, that now I feel like, okay, I can kind of get around to it. But for example, with my podcast, like I have one camera and I'm like, I need to. Like I want to get 2, 3, 4 angles, okay? But I've convinced myself, like, no, it's okay, Bibi, don't get it too invested. Just start, you know, just go for it. But it's hard. It's tempting.
Wait, Bibi, I have another question for you. It might be a bit off topic, but let me see how I can ask this. In your reels, when I was binge watching your reels in the weekend, I saw that you posted one that was about podcasting where you said you were looking for what equipment to buy. And then I think you said you ended up buying like the Blue Yeti X, which is the one you're using, right? Did you start the podcast yet or not yet?
It's kind of a long story. But to make it short, it's planned in, but there's something that happened that made it bigger than I could have imagined, which I'm happy with, but it does take more planning now.
Bigger, so what do you mean? Can you share, or do you prefer we skip?
Yeah, I can share it. I don't know if it's like gonna 100% happen, so that's why I'm like careful with my words, but I first thought of just like doing it at home, and it seems like I'm going to be shooting it somewhere else. So that's really exciting.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is it like for you being, I mean, you said you were born in Holland, but you were still raised in Aruba, right? What is it like trying to make your own business, start your own business, being an entrepreneur / content creator in the Netherlands, as compared to if you would have started that in Aruba?
Oh.
Because, like, if you want, I can give you my perspective here, since I just make content and have a podcast here. Cool. And then it'd be interesting for me to know what it was like for you there. So here in Aruba, I mean, it's a small island, right? We have about a bit over 100,000 people. It's easier to make your mark, right? Because It's like the population's less, your voice has more weight to it, you have less competition, etc. So here, as long as you're being consistent and you create a voice for yourself and sort of create an audience, you have much more leverage when you go ask for sponsors or companies to place ads in your videos, right? Because even here, you get 10,000 views, it's like 10% of the whole population almost. So you do have leverage. One thing that I definitely do think about is, say, if I were to pack my stuff and then move to Amsterdam or somewhere else in Europe, in a way you're like a nobody because you're starting fresh. No one knows about you, right? And then even when you start making your mark, you probably have so many other people that already create content and have their big following. So how would that be? Do you think it would be harder to make an income from being a content creator as compared to Aruba?
Yeah, but there's also more possibilities here. And
what do you mean?
at this point, Netherlands has also become kind of like small in my eyes if I compare it to the US. Like the US is huge, which just means that you have more opportunities because you have more consumers, so you have more brands. But I think here, one interesting thing is language. I don't create content in Dutch, which I could since I speak Dutch, but I think it's easy to get caught up in Dutch because then all your followers are Dutch. So how are you going to ever switch to English if you do want to branch out? So I do see that Dutch content creators have it easier to like make their mark because it is, well, compared to Aruba, it's bigger, but it is like a small population if you compare it like to the rest of Europe. I have thought about it on Aruba as well. Like I can imagine it's easier, but I guess like I just don't know better. You know, like I only did it here, and the only comparison I have is like my Dutch content creators friends that might have it maybe easier with growth when it comes to followers in the Netherlands itself.
Okay, now we spoke more than I anticipated or expected about content creation. So just tell me a bit more about what you do and your story, because I think we did introduction, but it ended up skipping your story or like what you really do right now, or dive deeper into that. So where did like the passion for fashion, that rhymes. Where did the passion for fashion come from if you studied like something else?
I always loved messing around with cameras. Since the time of like MySpace and stuff, I would like beg my sister to do little photo shoots at home and stuff. And then when I moved to the Netherlands, I started a blog just pure out of like curiosity. I was so excited, like all the new things I was witnessing. I was like, guys, like weed is legal here. And I would like break it down, like all the laws that made it possible that it's legal. I would like knock on my neighbor's door and be like, I need to interview for my blog. It's for my blog. I need to interview you, please. So I loved kind of like collecting that data and sharing that and sharing my experience. And then at the same time I was studying forensics. And then, yeah, the fashion world just kind of opened for me. Like in Aruba, like it's always sunny. So everyone's just wearing like a shorts and a tank top, but here there were like seasons, and that really intrigued me. So after college, I was like, cool, I'll just get like a job in retail, because I was a really shy girl growing up. I would overthink before I would say like a word to a stranger. So putting me in a shop where I'd have to speak with strangers all day, every day was a good decision of mine to like push me out of my comfort zone. And learning about kind of fashion as well. Then I got the opportunity to become a manager in Hollister, and before that I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch. And so yeah, management position was like, if you ask my like parents or like my friends, they were like, Bibi is not born to be a manager whatsoever. But I learned so much about people skills, and also a little bit about the fashion industry as well, and how fast it could go. And that kind of like started hurting my heart, like to see how fashion is not only this glamorous, amazing thing, but it can also be really bad for the planet. So that's when I kind of started diving into sustainability and secondhand clothing. And I didn't know thrift shops exist. Like, yeah, there's now a few in Aruba, but back then it was like secondhand clothing. Ew, that's disgusting. But then here it was like cool, and it was kind of even like cool if you went to thrift stores and found like amazing little gems. So I liked that idea of spending like hours in a thrift store trying to find like this gem. But I've noticed that there were a lot of cool things that either maybe didn't fit me right or they were broken in some kind of way. So I thought, if I could just sew. I've seen my mom sew growing up, but it was always more like a practical sense. Like she would give like the couch a makeover. Like she would, give it a whole new look, or she would repair my clothes. So I just got on YouTube and ordered a sewing machine and just taught myself how to sew. And I enjoyed it so much that I basically turned it into a business while still working my manager job as well. And then the pandemic hit. I feel like every story nowadays is like, and the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And everything changes. But that happened. I just got more time to think. And I think everyone did. And I just thought, you know what? I learned a lot at this job, and I'm so grateful for all the things I did learn. But my passion is not to become a store manager. My passion lies in other things, and I need to explore that. I need to go out there and explore that. And I set a goal for myself, because at that time I was saving up a lot of money because it was my first job kind of out of college. So I was kind of still living as a student. I wasn't wasting a lot of money or anything. So I was just saving up like crazy. And I kind of had and still kind of have a bit of a bad relationship with money. First, I thought like saving was like the best thing you can do. And now I kind of view it differently, but that just felt safe at the time. So I put this target goal. Cool. If I reach that, I'm going to quit my job. And then I reached it. And I called my mom and I was like, I think I want to quit my job. And I had no idea what to kind of expect. But she was like, you know what, baby, you need to wake up every day and be happy. So if you're not experiencing that, then you need to change that. You're so young. And that was kind of the first time where I was like, oh shit, I really rushed life. I am young. I'm still young. But it's not like I needed anyone's permission, but it felt really nice to have someone tell me that it's like, okay. And then I quit.
Two things that you just mentioned. Okay, one of them, I was thinking about it for the past 5 minutes, and I was like, when she stops talking, I want to bring this up.
Okay, cool.
And the other one, I just noticed, like, right now how much I can relate to it, or at least I can feel like I was in your shoes too. And for me, I just say it anytime that either I guest in a podcast or in an interview, I end up bringing up how grateful I am for the way I was raised, or like the relationship I have with my parents, right? Because for me, it's the same exact thing you just mentioned, that my dad and my mom, they just keep telling me what matters is if you're happy and if you have good health, and just like the COVID thing, it sounds like a cliche. Yeah, you just have to be happy. But then you say like, okay, but so many other things, right? Do you have like, can you put food on the table, all that stuff. But like the emphasis that they put on it, like they underlined and highlighted that thing so much that for me right now, and I've said this before, like you said, you worked in Abercrombie and then Hollister, right? So obviously when you're young, you do like some jobs that you don't like as much to gain some experience. I'm all up for that. But
oh yeah,
when you start developing and growing up, every single day just feels like it's more important that I should just be doing something I like, right? Either you can do it as a hobby, or the greatest thing is if you can make a living off of it. But again, they just drilled into my brain, like it's there forever. I can't take it out even if I try, that what matters most is you just have to be happy. And then even a good friend of mine, Anthony, that I just keep going to him for advice on how to become a better speaker and stuff like that. Every time that I explain to him what my next project is going to be, because just like you, I keep getting new ideas. I want to try this. I get bored of old ideas, so I just keep coming up with new stuff. He told me, like, I think it was last year, like, okay, Mauro, but don't focus that much on the money aspect or how you're going to, turn a profit, how you're going to make all this income. Like, just focus on delivering the best experience that you can, making the best product that you can, making the best video, explaining or telling the best story. And as a consequence of that, the money's going to come one way or another, right? Like, you're not going to starve if you just put out the best possible thing you can. And if you do that, putting out the best possible effort that you can in something that you love, then it's near impossible that you're going to starve, or that you're just going to live like a life below the means that you want, which is something that opened my eyes a lot in the past year. So that's why.
Oh, 100%. Like, I remember, like, my first job out of college, I was like, oh, like, money's going to change everything. Like, things are going to be so much easier. And I'm not going to lie, like, I do think money assists in some way. Like, it can help you, but it does not get you happy. Like, it just does not. But I also wanted to mention that how grateful I am, and you probably are too, that our parents are the way they are when it comes to wanting us to just be happy. Because I've had conversations with people where it was like, no, my parents sat me down at the dinner table and they said, you better become a lawyer or you better become a doctor. I didn't grow up with that pressure, and I'm so grateful, because I can imagine that, like, how that pressure must feel like. So yeah,
I want to share something with you. Do you still have time? Are we good on time?
Oh yeah, I could talk for
cool.
hours.
Look, my dad showed me this video. At first, I went to study back in 2018, I think it was. I went to study 1 year to Spain, in Barcelona, where the first year I studied business administration. But at that university specifically, like, the focus was very heavy on the finance side, like a lot, right? So we had like 2 different subjects for accounting, then it went into finances. Then I saw the curriculum and syllabus for the next years, and it just caught like even deeper. And I was like, okay, I can muscle through 1 year, but I'm definitely not going to enjoy like the rest of my years here if it's going to keep going into this direction, because it's just like boring and cold for me. Now that it's like a few years later and I do work in entrepreneurship, I learned through my own efforts, like either courses or learning online, but I just didn't enjoy that career as much. So something that my dad told me, shared like a video with me or a story, and it was pretty interesting. A lot of parents there would just say, look, you got to finish it. You have to have your bachelor's, then you can do whatever you want afterwards, but just, push through it. He showed me this video of a chef where his dream was to get his restaurant to get a Michelin star, right? He wanted his restaurant to be a Michelin star restaurant. So he was working towards this for years, right? He managed to have his own restaurant. He had his own like employees. And then the night that he finally got the Michelin star, like he finally got it after years of pushing towards it, the day after, the morning after, he called for a meeting with everyone, right? So everyone suspected they were going to sit at the table and just celebrate and like reminisce on all the good things that they did. And it was the morning after. The guy didn't even have maybe 12 hours since he got the Michelin star, but he announced that he's going to close the restaurant. And then when he called his mom and he told him this, his mom insulted him. Like, she really hurted him verbally, because she said, you're crazy. You don't have like the value for the things that you're building. You worked towards this like your whole career up until now, and now you just want to throw things away. I can't believe my son is so stupid, etc. So that really hurt him. But I saw the video of the speech that he had with the room, and at the end it was like, I've worked towards this for so many years, but now that I get it, my heart is telling me that it wants to go in another direction. Like, I was fooled by my heart, and this is not what I want. And for him, I can only imagine how difficult it is that some people there would say, I worked towards this, now I finally get it, so I'll just shut up and take it, right? But he ended up closing the restaurant, and his dream became to open like a chain of more restaurants that aren't Michelin star, but that way he can still keep expanding, because one thing that's really hard is to maintain like the Michelin star level. So if you get the star and then lose it, the restaurant doesn't look as good. But he ended up going in another direction, which made him like much more successful, much more wealthy. But the lesson that he wanted to teach me through the video was, even if for you it seems that you worked towards something and it might seem like a stupid decision to drop it just because you're going to lose the time, don't see it that way, because at the end what matters is just follow in a way like your heart or your passion or what your heart tells you. And when he showed you that, or when he showed me that, when he shows you that, is what I mean, is that it takes off so much pressure, because in a way, especially if you're going to study abroad or if you're going to pick a career, like you're afraid of disappointing your parents, or that definitely happened to me, right? If it were for me, if I didn't have any parents and it was just my choice, I would have definitely changed studies that year without like any hesitation. I would have looked for something else, but it was just like the fear and anxiety that was building up inside me of like, how am I going to tell them? Am I going to let them down? Are they going to be disappointed? All that stuff. And then once the conversation actually happened, they just tell me that. And then you see that it's no sweat, just do what makes you happy. So that is something that like set the tone for all the years to come. And the year that we're currently in, that I can view things from like a different scope. I don't have to be that scared, and I just follow what I think is going to make me happier, or like what fulfills me in that moment.
Wow. Like, bravo to your parents as well. Because I just know that, like, this isn't not the case for everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But I was thinking, though, that even though it's not a lot of money, I think some people do have that financial pressure of like, okay, I didn't only waste time, I also kind of wasted money. So how do you look at that? Even though for me, I find like Netherlands, like it's 2,000 euros a year. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's way more expensive in other countries. So I don't think we can really complain. But what's your take on that?
So what he told me at that moment was, okay, you know, you just went to Spain in this case, like you took out the loan to pay university and then just like also the loan to live there. So while you decide, why don't you come to Aruba? You know, because if you stay there, you're still not sure of what you want to do to start experimenting and then just racking up the debt. I prefer you just come here, figure stuff out, and then you can go again. And then it was when I came back, then he said, you know, just go for the open house at the University of Aruba. Like, just go, it doesn't hurt. And then when I went there, is when I, you know, decided to just finish here. Before I left Barcelona as well, the mother of one of my closest friends, she told me, Mauro, I just want you to know something. I want to give you like some life advice. If you're going to study to be like a lawyer or a doctor, I'd say it really matters where you study, where you get your degree from, and like the quality of education that you get. But I've known you for this year, and I definitely know that you're just going to do your own thing and always strive to be an entrepreneur. And like your last option, like plan Z, would be to work for someone else. If that's the case, at the end, if you just study the fundamentals of business and then just get out there and gain experience, it doesn't matter as much where you get your degree from, because it's more about what you do with what you know. And then I was like, okay, no pressure. Then studying in Aruba is much more affordable, so you don't have to take out a loan for that. And then what I have from study debt is just like the 1 year loan that I was abroad, which is much easier to pay off than other people's, which I'm grateful for. But like if I would have studied probably medicine or law, I would have definitely like aimed to gone abroad to like a much more prestigious university. But yeah, I just followed that lady's advice.
Wow. Wait, I had a question. What was it?
I don't know.
Hold up.
Is it coming?
Yes. Okay, cool. The other day I was diving into post-graduation anxiety, because I've heard that a lot of people have that, or when they're graduating or around that time, they feel like this anxious feeling. And one thing I remember is like realizing that when I was looking for jobs, like it wasn't like, oh, have a degree. Like, yeah, they'd mention that, but it was like 4 years of work experience. And you're like, what the fuck? What do you mean 4 years of work experience? I just spent 4 years studying. Now I'm supposed to get that work experience. So I think companies are definitely valuing experience as well nowadays, which is great, but also scary if you're like studying and then it's like, oh, yeah.
What was the question though?
That wasn't a question. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you wanted to ask something.
No.
For me, that anxiety was just there all the time, basically.
Really?
So I always, look, I'm a very anxious person. Like I can get intense at times. Like in the past 2 weeks, I self-diagnosed myself with ADHD. So I just want to literally go check it out this week. Because as I started looking into it, When I tell you 10 out of the 10 bullet points match to the T is when I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to check this out, right? Because it's next level, not normal. Like I can go to the kitchen, start making a sandwich, pour myself a coffee, and I get an idea, and I come to my room and start like YouTubing it, working on it, and then like 3 hours later, leave my room, and I was like, yo, my sandwich is here, you know? And like those sort of things make up my day-to-day life. So I really want to get that checked out. But I sort of been like this since always. So like that level of anxiety is what I've always gotten, right? One thing I wrote down that I wanted to mention, and now it fits perfectly, is you said that you were rushing life so much and you just had to chill out, right? For me, when I was already 17, 18, I felt guilty that my parents were still paying stuff for me, right? So I preferred, it's funny because I felt guilty. I felt this pressure of I should be paying my own things. They shouldn't be paying my stuff. So I got ashamed to ask for money. I didn't want to do that. But then I also didn't want to get just any job that I wouldn't enjoy, right? So it was always, I want to do my own thing and make a living off of that. And I just started to feel uncomfortable that if I have to go out or if I want to buy food, sometimes they have to chip in. Like I remember getting my first car here, and then at that time, I didn't start the podcast yet, I think. And I just didn't feel like, getting any job. So I finally got my first car. I was low on gas. And then the University of Aruba is in Playa. I live in Playa, so maybe it's like a 20-minute walk. For like 3 consecutive mornings, my dad just wakes up in the morning to go to work. He sees my car outside, and then he's like, "Aren't you going to class?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But I was walking to class just because I didn't want to be like, "Hey, Dad, you got gas money for me?" I was like, "Nah, I should be able to like provide for myself." And that is like a self-introduced pressure that I had since I was young. So my mom was always like, "Yo, just take it easy. It's okay." But it's something I really struggled with. It's like a pressure, and I've seen this in another podcast. I think it was Chris Williamson and like Alex Hormozy, where he mentions that they did a study on people that made it to a point of being very successful, like either wealthy or like running a really big company. And they had 2 things in common. One is that they had an immense level of drive, discipline, and ambition. So they really had like a goal that was very clear that they were running towards. But the funny thing is that one thing that they also had in common is that they were all running from something, So to link this with like a scientific study is they were putting amounts of cheese in front of a mouse and then measuring how much the mouse was pulling with how much force to see how, much they wanted to waste an effort or energy to get that cheese. And then after a certain amount, the energy wasn't like it didn't increase. Let's say after 4 blocks of cheese, 5 blocks of cheese, 6 blocks of cheese, they were giving the same amount of effort as the 4th. But once they introduced like something that was life-threatening, like say they put a cat behind them, then they really increased the effort like by tenfold, And they said one thing that these people had in common is it's not only that they had a clear goal to run towards, but they had like this anxiety or fear of either failing or not making anything of themselves or disappointing someone or proving haters wrong or something like that, and it doesn't come out to be like something that's healthy at the end, because obviously if you make it far just based on passion and love and stuff like that, it's better. But it's something that I can definitely relate to, that Bibi, since I was like 17, 18, I just had this pressure of I just have to make something of what I'm doing,
Do you think that has anything to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're a man? Do you feel like this pressure that you have to like provide in some kind of way financially?
Okay, cool. Look, I'm going to say something that's sort of, it's going to give a bit more context before I answer. Okay. But don't forget the question.
Okay.
So I have this, and I sent this to my girlfriend, to my friends, because I think it's so true. Chris Williamson, he has a podcast called Modern Wisdom. I like to listen to a lot of his things. They clipped a scene from his interview where he said that psychologists say that when women or children feel like they're in a low, in a dip, or depressed, what you have to do is offer them love and support, right? Especially women. Like if they get love, support while they work on themselves, they're going to be able to crawl out of that low or out of that ditch to get themselves to feel better. But it doesn't work as optimal as it does for women and men. And he said that any, let's just say broken man, I know it sounds like heavy, right? But any broken man, in order to make him feel better or really help him, you have to offer him a sense of purpose or a big accomplishment and give him like even a small % chance that he can make it. And then you'll see him crawl over broken glass for that purpose. Right? So an example that he that he mentioned is you have like a retired fireman that was bedridden in the hospital for more than a year, and nothing could get him to start doing therapy, to walk again, or anything. Like he was just, in a way, he gave up, right? He didn't want to become better. But then once there was a false alarm of a fire starting in the hospital and people being in danger, he got up, started running to see where the fire was to help people. You know, and he thinks that for men, if you just give them a sense of purpose, like something bigger, and show them that there's even a slight chance that they can accomplish it, it's much more effective for them than love and support. Something I heard. I didn't do the research to like confirm this, but for me personally, it makes sense. For me personally, it makes sense.
Okay.
Like for me, having friends and family and a girlfriend and having friendships and love, it's definitely like one of the most important things in my life. But it doesn't fill me up as much as chasing a dream or idea that I have and wanting to see it become a reality. Like that is number one source of happiness for me. Like if you tell me I keep my friends, I keep my family, my girlfriend, and everything's just sunshine and rainbows and happy and they're always with me, but I have to stop pursuing any ideas that I have and work just someplace, right? I can grow, let's say in a corporation, doesn't matter, manager of marketing, for example, which I enjoy. I would be much more unhappy than doing what I'm doing right now, even if everything else is in order and good, just because I feel that, I don't know, I'm just not going to leave something behind, you know? Like that for me is number one. Like the project that I'm working on right now that I didn't mention online yet, that I've been talking to like some people about that are helping me a lot, is literally built around building something that is going to outlast me, that is going to be here. Hopefully, like it's going to become something timeless. And for me, if I don't make it to a point even remotely close to that, it's, I don't know. I just didn't make it in what my life goal is. You know, I see getting a job and just enjoying life as like plan B if that doesn't work out, but it's definitely not my priority whatsoever.
Is it really your plan B? I bet that's not. I think
What?
it's like plan Z, like you said.
Probably, yeah. Plan B is idea B, plan C is idea C, so it's definitely going to be other ways to still pursue this. And with this, I don't mean like the podcast or anything. This is just like a way to meet new people and like express myself. But dude, I don't know. It's like I'm wired that if I don't show myself that I'm trying 100% just to try and make something happen and make one of those dreams a reality, then that to me is failing, basically. And I have like this rooted fear inside me if I just don't want to fail or just don't make anything. So I don't know. It's weird. I'm basically working based on passion and sort of fear or pressure also.
You've such a drive, but what is the fear? Like, what is your worst case scenario? What is that thing that you don't want to fall back on?
That's a good question. Let me tell you this. I have a friend, one of my closest friends. Probably if he hears this, he's going to know that I'm talking about him, right? But sometimes when we have a conversation with him, he tells us himself that he's a man of no big ambition, right? He has like a small scale family business here in Aruba that is parents run. And then he says that his biggest dream is to just take that over. It's like one shop, right? He wants to take that shop over and then run it. That for him is dream life. Play beach tennis with me and other friends 3 times a week, run that small shop, and raise a family. That's his dream. Like, he's happy with that, which is completely okay. But, like, I listen to that and my brain melts, right? Because imagining myself in that scenario is, fuck, I failed at life, you know? And I resonate with the part of, I want to have a family. I just want to, you know, settle down and be chill.
Do you
Maybe
really
after
want to have a family, though? Have you, like...
Yeah.
Do you want kids?
Yeah.
You want kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something even my sister says is, Mauro knew he wanted to be a father since he was like 15. That's
what?
for sure. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I can't relate, but okay.
Well, for me, so like the life he describes, I respect him for it. But like for me, and it's crazy because I know it just sounds like I'm putting more pressure on myself. But for me, that's like a definition of, by my standards, I failed and I just took like plan Z to survive, you know? Like it's really,
yeah.
It's just how I feel. Like for me, if I'm not making something that will last, that will impact people, then I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to do. You know, that's just how it naturally feels. So that for me, like his life plan would be my plan Z of like, yeah, I'll just, you know, get that job and put food on the table and not die. And like be with the people I love. Sure.
I think it's inspiring.
Really?
Drive and your like purpose as well. Yeah, it's inspiring.
You don't think it's a bit it's a bit unhealthy at least?
No, because I can see it coming from a good place. And I can just see how like your eyes like sparkle up when you talk about it. You're like actually passionate about this. So yeah, I just think you'll know when it's like it's getting too much. I think you have that capability of being like, okay, I need to like calm the fuck down. Yeah.
What's it like for you? So like that case that I explained, where do you want to see yourself with your business and your dream go?
Oh, I mean, I did not grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur. I was like, don't get the hype, like all the risk, like just give me like a good amount of money per month. And that just feels safe and great. My perspective has definitely changed. I think getting like a taste of that freedom and that how rewarding it can just feel to do something you love every day is very addictive. But I just remember having jobs and feeling so unhappy. So that's kind of like my place where I don't want to end up again. It doesn't matter like how stressed something can be, like waking up and be like, should I have to do this, this, and this, and the anxiety and the stress. I don't care. Like that is all worth it to me because I'm so happy at the same time. So I think, yeah, that's just it for me. And like, I think like you said, like knowing that you can help people, that is the ultimate thing. Even though I try not to like see it as like, I don't want to base my happiness off like validations of others because I feel like then you'll never be happy. But I do think that there is something just so powerful of knowing that you helped even one person out there. That feeling is just amazing. But I think my biggest like motivation is knowing that I'm getting better every day, even if it's like the littlest step. Knowing that I'm gonna get better every day, that is enough for me. But I would be lying if I sat here and said that validation from people like doesn't matter. I do really value it though, but I can't rely on that because that won't make me happy.
One thing that I learned a lot from some of the books that I read often, so much that I tattooed it like almost everywhere on my arm, right? Like these teachings that I just want to have with me every single day of my life, is based on Stoicism, which you probably heard about, right? No?
No.
Okay, cool. So Stoicism is an ancient of origin Greek, but then Roman philosophy, where you had like a lot of, can I get you a book? No, I cannot, because then my statue will fall. But it started in Greece and then moved its way to Rome, where you had like so many philosophers through different generations that picked up like this school of philosophy and kept like running it and spreading it out through the world. But it bases itself, if I have to like summarize it for someone super short in like 1 minute or less, it would be that it teaches people that you should just focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. And it bases itself on 4 virtues, which is self-control or temperance, honesty, justice, courage, and discipline. And then that every single thing that happens to you in life is an opportunity to express one of these 4 virtues, in a way. And then what really helped me is it says that it's something that helped me a lot with my self-control. And I keep saying a lot of times to my close friends that I stumble upon this philosophy at like the most perfect, ideal moment in my life. Because like the hardest year that I went through, like personally, emotionally, like the toughest patch that I went through, I was like introduced to this, and I started like obsessing and reading about it like 1 or 2 months prior. And the storm that I went through didn't affect me nearly as much as it would have if I didn't read any of this, you know? And in a way, it was just one thing that I like the point that I brought it up is you become like thicker skinned and more cold towards what happens around you, in the sense that you don't let compliments and validation give you that much of a high. But in return, when you get hate or negativity and criticism, it doesn't put you in that much of a low, you know? Because you can't let negativity not affect you, but then let a compliment make your day, because you are susceptible to both. It's either you let external forces dictate how you feel, or you don't let it as much. So it's something that I really, like, I've spent years. Okay, by years, I mean like 2-3 years. But I spent years like focusing on implementing this, like rereading the books. A journal that my girlfriend gifted me, which I got right here, is what like got me into journaling consistently. It's the Daily Stoic Journal. And then I'll just go to a page that I didn't fill yet. You have one like teaching every single week. And then the whole week you're going to reflect based on that teaching or like that philosophy throughout the whole week. And then you have like one question every morning, one question every evening that you have to fill in. And like it sort of guides you and makes you like write twice or journal twice a day, but also based on how you can apply what was presented to you to your life throughout the whole week, you know? And it's like a way to keep it in practice and like not forget it. But dude, it is one of the things that helped me out the most. Because like I like to read about psychology, marketing, human behavior, like a lot. That's super interesting. But reading about philosophy and making it part of your character, just it's like a new lens of how you can see life and like how to deal with certain situations. Life-changing, dude. Life-changing.
This is like so amazing. I love it. I need to read that book. And I also love the journal because I have noticed that when reading books, I highlight so much and stuff, but I miss that self-reflection. Like I don't have like a system in place when it comes to reflecting on my books and like actually implementing it. At some point I'll just forget it. So this is like magic to my ears. I love it.
I'm going to send you a few clips. Like definitely there's like a few short summaries or clips that summarize like the whole general idea. And then like based on that, I can help you like choose like which book you want to dive into. But they're like, the good thing is they're short books, so like easy to read. But I'm happy you liked it though, because for me, it was definitely life-changing.
Oh yeah. I love that. I love the breakdown. I keep thinking about it now. It's so good.
Bibi, I know I told you it's going to be a 30-minute episode. But it's been
sorry,
no, it's
like,
cool.
Sit here all night. I'm so sorry.
It's been an hour and 15. So that was awesome. That was awesome. I think it's cool because I think the first 30 minutes we spoke only about content.
Yeah.
And then like after those 30 minutes, it took like a whole different direction. So it can easily be split in like 2 or 3 different episodes. But what I know for sure is like I'd like to have you back on and talk about more stuff for sure.
Oh my God, amazing. Would love to. Yeah, like I said, like I can do this all night. I enjoy it so much, which is why I really need to start a podcast. But I just think that you're so wise. I learn a lot by how you put certain things into words. I just find it really inspirational. And I think your drive is really inspirational. I just love what you're doing for other people. I love that you keep having this like bigger and bigger goal and that you actually make it happen. It's just really cool to see.
Thanks, Bibi. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you would like to share, either with me or like the listeners, before we sign off?
No.
Okay, cool.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll add as the closing message. Especially since you also shared that about me, I feel like now I really want to share something about you too.
Oh no, oh my God.
But for real, it was something I would have said either way. So I think your story is definitely very cool. I think next time we can definitely dive deeper into what you do for a living, because your upcycling and the creativity that you put into every one of your pieces, I think is very cool. Like I told you that I binge watch your videos, but I know my girlfriend watches your videos consistently too. So I do listen to them. And then one thing for sure is I like that you found your own way and style to still provide value through every single content or piece of content that you put out. Like, I think that is why I like your content so much. Every time that like I share it, like or comment, it's not just to like build rapport or anything. Like I genuinely like what you're achieving with a video, because it's what I try to do too. And you found your own cool way of doing it. Because for me, I just find it difficult to want to be that person that just wants to entertain people through content, right? I like to consume entertaining content, but when it comes to like using my voice or seeing someone else use their voice, I really admire when it's just the goal is to either provide value or just help people out, you know? And that's something that I see you do with literally every one of your videos. Either you provide value or you just make someone think. You make me think or ask myself a question. And I think that's definitely admirable for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we're even. Bibi, so it was definitely a huge pleasure to have you on the podcast. We have more than enough content and value. I really appreciated that you also gave me a chance to either respond to questions that you asked me or like give my insights, because it's normally just me asking questions to other people. So it's definitely one of the interviews that I enjoyed most this season for sure.
Oh my God. That's huge. No, I'm super grateful to like chat with you for like an hour and learn about all your lessons. And yeah, I just think that we see certain things in the same way. So then it's always fun to like chat about it. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
My pleasure, Bibi.